Alrighty. Welcome back to the hottest takes in country music. Today is episode 5 or 6, I think. I'm not sure. Either way, these are always a blast and never fail to generate some great discussion. You guys always seem to really like them, and so do I, so here we go. If you're new, if you're new, you should subscribe, because, all the cool kids are subscribed to Overrated, but either way, in case you are new, all these hot takes are taken from my Discord server, so if you got a hot take you want featured in a future episode, that's where to put it. Also, we were talking in the Discord saying how this series needs a jingle, like a little hot takes jingle, so then we got thinking, well, the hot country nights would be perfect, so if any one of my 700 some odd subscribers knows anyone in the hot country nights, wants to get us in contact for a jingle, that'd be fantastic. But either way, without further ado, let's get into these. Never Break Heart is what kind of music Keith Urban tries to make but fails at. I agree to an extent. I think Keith is trying to make music as outright positive and feel good as Treat People with Kindness by Harry Styles, while having the summertime pop playlist ability as something like Cake by the Ocean back in the day, but he's trying to market it as something along the lines of Never Break Heart. Whatever he's doing, he's failing badly. Keith is just a mess right now. Who actually sits down and is like, you know what? I really want to listen to The Speed of Now from start to finish. Or who even sits down and wants to listen to anything from The Speed of Now? On the flip side though, can we take a second to talk about Never Break Heart? I mean, Eric just keeps up in the game with every single he puts out. I want to emphasize his delivery on this track. He softened up at just the right times, then snapped back into his growly tone, then his smooth, more reflective, mature style. Just the vocal performances and arrangements in general could not have been better, and the instrumental I can't get enough of. The rock and pianos especially just get me in a groove. I know some people don't like the extended outro, almost reminiscent of something like You by Joji. Personally, I find it kind of saps the punch out of the song and it causes you to leave on a more mellow cinematic vibe as opposed to the upbeat jamming you were just trapped in. With that said though, I already know I'm going to love it in the context of the full album. It's a very clever way of gradually changing the pace of the album rather than going straight from fast song into slow song, similar to how Nights by Frank Ocean divides Blonde in two. But this is just done in a country style. So as a single, it may sound a little odd, but I know in the bigger picture, it'll help the album flow exceptionally well. What Ifs is the best duet in country music. No, just off the top of my head, we got When I Get Where I'm Going, which is Brad and Dolly Parton, Whiskey Lullaby, Brad Paisley and Alison Krauss, Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, that's a great one, It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere, Alan Jackson, Jimmy Buffett, Remind Me, another Brad Paisley one with Carrie Underwood. If I remember correctly, I believe Kill a Word by Eric Church is technically a duet. Rhiannon Giddens. I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced that. I had to search it up, but I knew it was a duet with somebody. Even Setting the World on Fire by Kenny Chesney and Pink. I know there's plenty more out there, but I think I've made my point clear. I never really enjoyed What Ifs anyways. It was mediocre at best. So all in all, your opinion is just as valid as mine, but this is one I would strongly disagree with. New Truck is a vibe. I'm just going to agree with Santiago's reply to this. He said, not a good vibe though, lol. Somebody's Problem is the worst song ever. Yeah, baby. Florida Georgia Line is the Transformers of country music. Objectively mediocre with enough excitement that as a kid you love them, then when you revisit it years down the road, you get slightly embarrassed. Sorry, this one just cracks me up. I had no choice but to include it. Chris Stapleton's voice is too growly and it can get repetitive and annoying. When I first started this hot take series, this is the type of heat I was talking about. It's these comments that really stir the pot. I think we can all agree, technically speaking, Chris is one of the most talented vocalists we've ever seen in country music, but I think we can also all agree that his voice is very unique and could be seen as a more acquired taste. It's all personal preference at that point. The take doesn't say Chris can't sing, it's saying his tone is too growly and it gets repetitive after a while. So though I disagree, I can definitely sympathize because I still can't listen to Broken Halos. That song was so overplayed that when I hear See My Share of Broken Halos, I just want to turn my brain off, just stop processing sensory information. It's funny because as I reread this take, there's not much I can say. There's nothing I can say or do that will make you like Chris's voice. It's all personal taste. It's not like you're missing a piece of the puzzle. We've all heard his voice, but personally I find his voice refreshing. It may sound similar on some songs, but that's because of how out in left field it is to begin with. He doesn't have a standard vanilla male voice, so he can't necessarily add any bonus flair to it. The flair is there to begin with. His voice is kind of like Luke Combs in the sense that it's so big it can be hard to pull back on slower moments because it just sounds like confining an orchestra to a cupboard. But with that in mind, I think he's technically a better vocalist than Luke and does a better job of stripping it back for slower moments. And as for his voice when he starts wailing, well, we all know what that's like. So, could I see it get repetitive and annoying? Yes, I don't know if I could listen straight through Chris's whole discography without getting a little bored, but at the same time, it's refreshing because he doesn't sound like every other person on Apple's New Country playlist. So many artists there all just sound the exact same, especially with dudes making vanilla pop country. So in that sense, I would argue someone like Tyler Rich's voice can be annoying because we've heard 80 other voices just like it. It's weird because you're not wrong, it's an opinion, and it's all subjective because you're saying he can sing, you just don't like it. So that's a funny one. Florida Georgia Line's Swerve is a fun song and gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I don't know about this one, Chief. Swerve in my eyes was an abomination, from lyrics that I just don't want to hear from Tyler Hubbard, such as, yeah, I'm a two-step up to you with that booty in them pants, way you rollin' in that body, feel like I'm in a Bugatti. Like, nah, I just don't want to hear that in a country song. And sonically, I mean, this thing was choppy and rough all around. Nothing about this track swerved. It was just brake checks, 90-degree turns, and T-bone collisions everywhere. Yeah, no, I can't stand this song. Man, this episode is just full of Florida Georgia Line. Eric Church has an unremarkable voice, and in his attempt to make up for it, he gets too vocally weird on many of his album cuts. If he would stick to his natural voice more, he would, crazy as it sounds, be even better. His strength is the synergy between vocals and instruments. His guitar is a voice of its own. When he tries to get all weird with his voice, it takes away from the instrumental focus and lessens the overall Eric Church experience. Song examples: The Snake, Chattanooga Lucy, Higher Wire, etc. I wouldn't say Eric has a remarkable voice, but I think it's better than a lot of artists today, and I think a big role of that is how unique it is. You know when Eric Church is singing, there's no question about it. I think this unremarkable quality you're talking about is due to its lack of strength. By strength, I just mean it's a piercing, thin voice, very delicate and wobbly, as opposed to someone like Chris Stapleton or Luke Combs that just demands that spotlight and almost trumps every other aspect of a song. I think he made a good spot in saying the stranger vocal moments could be to make up for his lack of strength if he doesn't think his voice on its own does enough, but personally I like it and I think it's one of the many easily recognizable qualities of Eric. Eric's a weird guy. I was not surprised at all when I heard he didn't sleep for 4 days in the mountains because he was writing songs. He's just that lovable oddball in the group, and I think his stranger vocals reflect his personality very well. I just think by taking away Eric's free-flowing, wacky style, you're still left with a great voice, but you've lost part of the artist. That rebel doing his own thing, doesn't care what you think role works, partly because he's not afraid to get weird at times like on Higher Wire or The Snake like you mentioned. So that's all I got for you guys today, but I have a whole nother hot takes video on the way. When I went back and checked, there were a bunch of good ones, far too many to jam into one video, so expect to see another hot takes episode in the near future, but at the same time, I do try to spread them out a little bit so I don't overdo it per se. As always, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, socials should be above my head right now. If you have any hot takes, I'd love to hear them in the Discord server, we'd love to chat with you over there. Be sure to comment your opinions on these takes in the comments below. And yeah, last thing, if anyone knows the Hot Country Nights, get them in touch. We'll talk about a jingle for this series. But yeah, till next time, have a great day.